Even though I spoke with over 30, 40 governments and taught them everything I know about it, they still don't do it because it's so foreign in their heads that the community has more power than marketing. What happens is when this is developed by the tourism board, it ends up just being a marketing project. Now, most governments understand that attracting talent is key, but they don't understand that digital nomads are on the top of the funnel when it comes to attract talent. It's very, very, very hard to convince someone to move to your country that never experienced it. And if we work remotely and we can experience it for 1 or 2 months, we will always do it before we decide to move. What we learn is that community is the most important asset any destination could have. We in Madeira had a budget of 50, 60K total, and we attracted more people than other governments that invested over 1 million on billboards in London and everything. We had more results than them because we, as nomads, understand why we move to places. So it's much more about community. It's much more about how is my life going to be? Who will I meet? Who will I hang out with if I move to X?
Welcome back to the Amagi Village Podcast. Today I'm joined by Gonçalo Hall. His name is synonymous with the Digital Nomad Village in Madeira, a project that didn't just put a community on the map, it wrote the playbook for how a modern government can attract global talent. On this episode, we'll be discussing the future of where we live and work. On one side, you have the digital nomad movement. On the other, the ambitious experiments of charter cities and network states. What Gonçalo has suggested is that these two worlds are converging. He's currently living in Prospera, Honduras, with his young family, exploring how his expertise in communities and his very raw and candid feedback can help them make the destination more livable. Join us as we explore how the patterns and preferences of digital nomads might reveal the future of migration, talent, and opportunity, and what happens when we start to build new societies from scratch. Let's get into it. All right. Gonçalo, I'm so excited to speak to you today.
Thank you for the invitation. We are in the opposite side of the world, yet we made it work, which is beautiful.
Yes. So you are joining us today from Prospera, which if people read about this special economic zone in Honduras, there's going to be a lot of talk about like the ideas around it, but I'm so interested to hear like what's actually on the ground. What is the built living environment like? Where are you?
So I'm in this beautiful island of Roatan, which is in the Caribbean. Yes, it belongs to the Honduras, but I think it's kind of a special world inside the Honduras because it's safe, it's beautiful, it's tropical. So just by itself, Roatan is an incredible hidden gem that I never ever have heard about before learning about Prospera. I had no idea what Roatan is. And now here I am because of Prospera. So the first is like the island is beautiful. It's everything you could expect. It's the second biggest coral reef in the world and lots of diving, lots of stuff to do in the ocean. But then we have Prospera, which has this special economic zone with the specificity of having also some regulation power. So we can have wild, crazy stuff happening here. Things that are illegal in the US, for example, gene therapy is legal here because we have our own rules. And so we are attracting a lot of these kind of startups, a lot of smart people from biotech, a lot of people from Bitcoin. We have a Bitcoin center that become one of my favorite places to work from in the top of the mountain.
Oh, yeah.
We have a beautiful co-working space. We built a tower, a Duna tower, which I think it has like 12 floors right now with a rooftop pool and a bar. Co-working space, a specialty cafe, gym. It's quite big. And then we have all these small buildings, but even it was not enough. So they also acquired a big resort where I'm staying, which is Pristine Bay. And there we have the co-working space. We have the beach club with an amazing pool, tennis courts. We have a place to organize conferences, which is the Dome. So basically we are building a whole startup city from scratch in this beautiful island, with the ability to attract some of the smartest people in the world because we have special regulations, especially the ones that are breaking all the rules that are pushing the movement forward in biotech, longevity, cryptocurrencies, and maybe just nomads that are curious about living with like-minded people in the beautiful island of the Caribbean. I never expected to be my case, yet here I am, loving it.
Yeah. It's interesting because we're kind of working with these three different layers in your life, right? So you figured out how to work online. You were one of the early people to do that. So you became a digital nomad. So we have like the digital world and what that layer enables, but you used that ability to travel, to geo arbitrage, for both pleasure and for purpose, profit, all these things. You leverage the opportunity to move around and change your environment to sort of maximize your lifestyle. But here in Prospera, you get to sort of play with both of those, right? Because it's like, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea is that it's not that it's like a lawless free for all zone. You have to build according to laws, but you literally get to pick and choose. So you can have a dentist who's licensed in, according to Thai standards,
Yes.
operating in one room. You can have a software studio who are entirely using the Estonian regulatory framework in another room, and lawyers who are familiar with a completely different jurisdiction, right?
Yes. And
So
if nothing
you have
works,
regulations,
yeah, but
but
if
you get
nothing
to play
works, you
with
can
those.
create your own. That's the cool thing. So imagine this
Ah,
biotech
okay.
company. So you can create their own. So it's everything is managed. Everything there is an arbitrary judge and everything. But for example, in the biotech industry, some things there is no framework. So if gene therapy, for example, which Brian Johnson came here to do, is illegal everywhere in the world yet because it's not sufficiently tested, and the FDA didn't approve it yet. We couldn't select any jurisdiction to actually do that. So in those specific cases, and only in those specific cases, I believe you can always create also your own regulation with basics from all around the world. And they have people to help you doing that in the case you are doing something out of this world, which is very strongly embraced around here.
Right. So it's this super freedom, but so in case something goes wrong, there is a process in place for that, right?
Yes,
But
yes,
it's
yes,
very
yes, yes.
much, it feels like the opposite of Thailand, which I know you tried to do some work with like the local Thai government on nomads, and you surely experienced what I did, where a lot of times the legal system here doesn't make sense to people who are coming from like the West, especially America, because a lot of things are actually like, it's illegal to do until the government makes it legal, which is why you get weird things like, Airbnb is illegal in Thailand, even though you can go on Airbnb and just find so much inventory, right? So yeah, I'm curious then. So let's give people your backstory a bit, because obviously you and I have sort of been part of the
Around.
same like remote working world. I've followed your work so closely for a number of years, even though we still have yet to meet in person. We're going to make that happen one
Yes.
day.
Yes, I need to go to Chiang Mai.
Yeah,
I
we'll
know.
get the
And I
kids
need to go to
together.
Chiang Mai. Yes, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I'm curious if you can sort of start with the thread of like what pushed you to leave. Was it a pull factor or was it a push factor? If we think about how the sort of the policy speak, like
Yeah.
why, like where are you from and why did you feel like you needed to leave? Or did you not feel like you needed to leave and you just really wanted something else?
It's fun. I really believe I was born a nomad because if I think about my school years, I went to 7 schools to finish 12 years. And the reason I changed school every time, since I have the power of decision, which was 8th grade, was because I was always very curious on how is life on the other side? How is life on that school? How is to hang out with those kind of people? And if you are in schools, it's a little bit like communities, you can see who lives there. So if I was in the school that was mostly African, that was more alternative, then I went to the school that had all the rich kids that everybody played rugby and everybody was super fancy and super rich. Will I like that? I went there. I hated it. So then I went to the beach school. Yeah, then I went to the beach school, which was in Oeiras. And then it's like more, everybody was going to the beach in the lunch breaks. Everybody was super more chilled and I loved it. So it was, for me, it was always about experiencing how it is to live there. And I clearly remember going on vacations when I was still living. I'm from Portugal, from Lisbon. And when I went on vacations, I was never curious on traveling there. I was always curious on how it is to live here. I always wanted to stay longer because I want to understand how it is to live in Zadar, Croatia, how it is to live in Algarve in the south of Portugal. I never enjoyed the traditional tourism. I enjoyed living tourism, meaning I want to live there, even if it's for 1 or 2 months, and understand how people live. And that, since I remember myself, I was like that. So I went to 3 universities. I never finished a single degree, just out of curiosity on how it is to live there. And then I understood that in the rest of the world, you could make more money and that Portugal was not an ideal country to make money. And so I left to Germany. I spent 2 years in Germany making money, where I understood that life could be cheaper than Portugal and I could make 3 times more money. I almost stayed in Germany forever because as a Portuguese, when a country works, it's very surprising. And then you make a lot of money. And then it's like, oh, this is interesting. I have more money than I need. What should I do now? So I went shopping, like any normal person with new money does. And then I got bored. I went to Poland for a year. And this was already me trying to work remotely. So when I went to Poland, the goal was already to learn a skill that I could work remotely to anywhere in the world. Spent 1 year there, learned everything about email marketing, and left. I bought my one-way ticket as a traditional digital nomad to Bali. And back then, when I left my job, I only had some freelancing gigs and not so much money. And meanwhile, I get 2 remote jobs. This was 2018. I got 2 remote jobs out of nowhere. One of them with a common friend of ours, I believe, Ivo, at Remote How, really, really back in the days. And yeah, bought my one-way ticket, went to Bali, lived my dream life, went to Chiang Mai as well. It was my second destination, I think. And since then, I never stopped. Some months later, I stopped working for others because I'm not very good at it. And I started working for myself, building my own brand, my own podcast. And now this is the only way I know how to be happy. I don't have the freedom I used to because I work mostly with governments and I help governments to build communities and help attracting foreign direct investment through community building. So I lost a little bit of my freedom of the early days, which I miss. But yeah, working for governments is fun as hell. So you can literally change a whole island, the whole economy instead of a whole company. So that's what I do now.
It's setting aside some of the freedoms because you get to take on just like the mantle of like power and influence and opportunity. Not for yourself, but really because you're passionate about the communities that you serve, right? I want to rewind a little bit because you're talking about like, you feel like you were born a nomad, you skipped through these degrees. At some point you left because you're bored. What does boredom feel like to you? Because I think this is the thread worth tugging on because this feels a bit like the digital nomad DNA. There's something going on. It's not just about like pure dopamine seeking, but there is something with people get bored and then they're just like, I need something. And I don't know, for me, sometimes it can feel like it's felt like a shaking of just like, I don't fit here, something's not right, I need to like move. And, growing up, I'm trying to do the work to sort of notice that feeling and give myself actually more freedom in how I respond. But I'm curious about what that has felt like for you as you notice, what is the voice that says it's time to move? Where does that come from and how do you respond to it?
I think for me it was grow. I really wanted to become an entrepreneur. I failed businesses since I'm like 20 years old. And my environment in Portugal didn't support my growth or me becoming an entrepreneur. And something I really understood very early about digital nomads, I found it 5 years before I actually became one, so 2013, was that people were going to Bali not because it's beautiful, but because they wanted to spend time with others like them that were building businesses. And this was pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, I would say 95% of digital nomads were entrepreneurs or freelancers. There was barely any employees. So if I wanted to become an entrepreneur, if I wanted to become location independent, if I want to seek growth, that was the place to go. And so I did everything I could to go to Bali as soon as possible. Not because Bali is beautiful. I'm Portuguese. Portugal is beautiful as well. Just because I wanted to spend time with those people. And ironically, that became my whole thesis that I built in the future, right? Everything I do now is to help people travel between communities. I believe that you should find your own community. So up to today, I really believe that I'm still seeking growth by building my own communities of people like me. But instead of going to places I build the places for other people to come to me.
Yeah, you're known as the Digital Nomad Village guy now, right? Based on like the runaway success of your project in Madeira. And I think people who encounter your story, just, searching Gonçalo Hall on the internet, may have a certain perception, but I know that you were not an overnight success, right? Like, and no one was like was asking you to do this.
Yeah.
Like, can you share with the audience, like, what was the process? How did that project come about? What were the different iterations of you trying to create impact before you really hit on this opportunity where now governments are like chasing you and your expertise and your ability to bring nomads and build community?
Life is crazy. Governments are chasing me. That's wild. Uh, Life is crazy. I'm still wearing shorts and flip flops, which is beautiful. I'm the only consultant in the world that still wears shirts and flip flops every single day. Um, I actually wrote the project way before it was implemented. I wrote the project as an inspiration from Bali, the community, from Grow Remote in Ireland. They do incredible work teaching people how to work remotely and decentralizing from Dublin to villages. So I wanted to do the same. And also Bansko, because Bansko is the first rural community that I know about, built by Matthias and Uwe. And they made a village in the middle of nowhere. And I've been there several times. It's in the middle of nowhere still. It still hurts me to go there. But it's an incredible community. And what they did is just truly outstanding. So I saw those three projects and I studied them very, very early. And I wrote the whole project in the Erasmus Plus project in Italy on how we could use remote work to actually repopulate the Italian villages by building community. That was the whole central point. Bansko was built by community, Bali is community, and Grow Remote, when they were trying to move people from Dublin to different villages, they understood very early that community was the superpower, like Tulsa in the US did. It's not just about the $10,000 they offer, it's about the community they built, the belonging, and the integration. So I understood all that just before I became a nomad. My first project was in Italy. I wrote the whole concept. We went to the government of Emilia-Romagna, and they said, that's really cool. We have no interest in this. Thank you. And so, honestly, it was just on my Evernote. I left it on the Evernote. It's just something in the back of my head. I went to travel the world. I came back to Portugal, got stuck during COVID, and I started to do a lot of work in the remote work space. So I was a remote work consultant. I organized conferences. I became organized the Random Remote Online with Liam and Igor. And I understood that with this, I could do something else. I could help more people to work remotely. I ended up going to Madeira just by chance, organizing one of my conferences, The Future of Work, which was online. But they reached out to me because they wanted to prove that people could actually move to Madeira and work from Madeira. And so they just paid me the trip. I've come organized from Madeira. It's online, so I took my laptop, went to Madeira. And opening the conference, I had the Secretary of Economy of Madeira because political reasons, you always need the political person to open the conference. Also because I had the Secretary of State opening before him. And so I was looking at him and I said, Madeira is beautiful. I haven't been here for ages. Why don't you have nomads? Why don't you have a project? Like Canary Islands is working, Bali is working, Thailand is working. Your tourism is completely destroyed by COVID. Like you should have nomads here. And he was looking at me very serious. And he's a very smart guy. I'm still his friend up to today. And he told me, next day, tomorrow, you have to get some free time. You need to meet Miguel. Like, I have no idea who Miguel is. I kept going with the conference at lunchtime. I'm the CEO of Startup Madeira, which was co-organizing the conference with us. Reach out to me, Gonçalo, when do you have time tomorrow? I was like, I don't have much time. I'm organizing a conference. No, one lunchtime, figure it out. Somebody has to stay here. You have to meet Miguel. I was like, who the hell is Miguel? Miguel was the president of Madeira. So Madeira has a regional government, which the president of Madeira is Miguel Albuquerque up to today. And so next day I was in the palace, still with a t-shirt, not with flip-flops. I actually got some shoes on. And I was meeting Miguel, the president of Madeira. And I told him the same vision, like Madeira is beautiful. All these places are working. These people are investing. I have a project ready to implement. Let's just do it. And the crazy part is that he asked me, how many millions do you need? And stupidly enough, I said, none. We can do this like 50K because I just want to implement this. And no, never. If they ask you how many millions, answer in millions. This is the biggest lesson of this podcast. Answer in the same number of currency they're saying. It's millions, it's
Got
millions. 1 million, 2 millions. Never say 50K. It's stupid. So I said 50K and he said, great. And 3 months later, I was signing the contract and moving to Madeira from the Canary Islands. And yeah, we started with 25 people, announced to the world. The whole idea was to build a free co-working space and build the community. So the first day was a sunset event. Then we had the workout. And after 2 months, we had 2,000 people. And we ended up now having around 25,000 people coming to Madeira, digital nomads, every single year. And I'm not working with them anymore, but it's still one of the best projects in the world. Everything was perfect. The timing, how we did it, the space. It was just a perfect alignment of stars that may never happen again.
Yeah. So we have you have to have the internet. You have to have people who can remote work. But if you build community, then they will come, right? That's always been your thesis. Which is kind of like an aside. So yeah, we've sort of been part of the same like remote work ecosystem, thought leadership on LinkedIn. So I think so many of us were like, wait, pandemic, like what are we gonna do? So we all went online to hang out, right? Because
Yeah.
so we're like, I don't know, what do I do? And it was really, I think, a very fun time. But of course, my work was more in the nomad visa advocacy, and everyone really leaned into the visa side, right, as the big way to target nomads during the pandemic, which was something that I personally was just like, no, I'm just going to call bullshit on like basically the majority of these visas. I did it politely via like a white paper that tried to be like respectful and like give data and reasons. But basically it was like, no, none of these are actually like visas for digital nomads. But you would say a step further. You were just like, no, like you don't even need a nomad visa. So can you talk to me about, yeah, I guess maybe that era in time, and we can sort of capture that moment and like what have you and like what have we within the community learned, and what do you think are some of the lessons that like governments and like the larger community are now finally able to integrate?
So we are
So
talking on the year of 2025.
yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen a government yet understanding it and figuring it out and actually implementing a proper project. Even the ones
A
that
proper
are,
like project, a location-based project.
I would say, no national government actually figured it out yet.
Mhm.
Even though I speak about this everywhere, even though I did talks in all over the world, even though I spoke with over 30, 40 governments and taught them everything I know about it, they still don't do it because it's
Yeah.
so foreign in their heads that the community has more power than marketing. It's so
Mm.
foreign in their head that people can come for 2 months or 1 month and not just move there.
Yeah.
They don't understand it because it's in the middle of two things. It's in the middle of the economic development, which is the Minister of Economy that has this role, and tourism, which is completely different. It's a tourism board, which is more promotional. It's more like a marketing agency for the country. And because it's in between both, what happens is when this is developed by the tourism board, it ends up just being a marketing project. Even if it has a visa, it's just marketing. There's nothing behind the marketing.
Yeah.
Because tourism boards are just marketing agencies. Well, even
Yeah.
worse, they actually pay marketing agencies for their work. So nobody really knows what they do. And economic branches don't fully understand that attracting talent is the key for the future. Now that is changing. I agree that now most governments understand that attracting talent is key, but they don't understand that digital nomads are on the top of the funnel when it comes to attract talent. It's
Yeah.
very, very, very hard to convince someone to move to your country that never experienced it. And if we work remotely and we can experience it for 1 or 2 months, we will always do it before we decide to move. And so
Yeah.
we see this in Portugal. People come for 2 months as digital nomads. They say, I really like this. I would like to stay for 1 year. They use the
Yeah.
digital nomad visa to become expats, which doesn't make sense. That's a whole conversation. And then they actually come and move to Portugal. And that's how it should work. So, yeah, I don't think any government actually understood this. What we learned is that community is the most important asset any destination could have. We in Madeira had a budget of 50, 60K total, and we attracted more people than other governments that invested over $1 million on billboards in
Yeah.
London and everything. Some neighbors of Madeira invested over $1 million into attracting digital nomads and remote workers there. we had more results than them because we,
Yeah.
as nomads, understand why we move to places. We, as nomads, understand what we want. So internet is great.
Yeah.
Thanks to Elon Musk, everywhere. We can have internet everywhere. Thank you, Elon.
Yeah.
So it's much more about community. It's much more about how is my life going to be? Who will I meet? Who will I hang out with if I move to X?
Yeah.
And because if it's a gym, we can build a gym. It's like here in Prospera, we are in the beginning of this community, right? So, okay, one of the meetings I had is like, we need a better gym. My people that we want to attract here, we really are focusing on health. Even though we have a gym now, we have two actually. We need to make it proper. We need to make it really good. Okay, we can change that. We cannot change the kind of people that we attract. So we need to be very focused on attracting the right people so that the right people come. And then those people will attract the other people. So right now, if you are working on longevity, you heard about Prospera and you want to come here. If you know if you are around the community of Bitcoin, you know we have a Bitcoin center. You know you can pay everywhere here with Bitcoin. So it's part of our identity as Prospera.
Yeah.
So that's what we learned. People like us want to hang out with people like us, and that's it. So how can we attract the first early adopters, the crazy ones, the first 25 people, so that in 2-3 months we have 2,000?
Yeah. So I want to talk about what you invest in, right? Whether that's marketing spend, physical infrastructure, like what have you, right? So that 50K in Madeira, is it Ponta do Sol?
Yeah, Ponta do Sol.
Yeah, because so you picked one specific village in Madeira to make the epicenter, right? And what did you spend that 50K on that made such a difference?
First, my salary, which was the biggest difference we can have and make.
Yep,
Without my salary, nothing else would work. And then after my salary we had a free space in free room at the cultural center, Ponta do Sol Cultural Center, which has been built as a cafe. Nobody ever rented. Then it adapted and became an exposition place. It was always empty. Nobody ever went there. And so we transformed it in the co-working space by investing millions in IKEA. So basically we bought 22 tables, 22 chairs, and some lamps. We installed the best internet in the island, that is true. But the investment was quite low. So we put some coffee chairs outside so people could also work from the outside. It's beautiful. It's never too hot, never too cold. And basically it was that. That's all the investment we did. Marketing was zero. We built the website by ourselves. We never invested in marketing. We never had budget for that. So other than my salary and the co-working space, nothing.
Yeah. So I think to connect the dots for any policy folks who are looking at this or people who are trying to learn the lesson, right? I think I see it as digital nomads want to be near other digital nomads, not because we want to be in a little echo chamber, but it's so much easier to do entrepreneurship, do self-work, do all these very aspirational, inspiring things that digital nomads are very keen on when you're in an environment with people that support that, right? You don't want to have to go against the grain to do these good things for yourself. It just feels good. And that usually requires, I've always seen that it's people, right? Whether someone from the outside being invited to come in and share and for their advice to truly be received, or it's someone who has come up from that context, loves that place and creates a co-working space or a co-living space, and they really try to create a hub. So I think there's there are, I think, two touch points there. It's almost always a person who functions as the ambassador, and they can come from the nomad side or they can come from the local side. And then there's a core space, because just physically anchoring it, I think, actually really makes a difference. But then the question is, what is the point of bringing digital nomads? Because I think early in the pandemic, everyone just wanted, they were worried about losing tourism revenue, right? So they just thought somehow digital nomads equal money. So I'm going to create a new visa. I'm going to launch a PR campaign because somehow digital nomads equals money, without really thinking that through. And I think to your point, the bigger opportunity is the talent pipeline, right? Which is not super obvious. Like, how does like tourism and travel and lifestyle equal like startups and innovation?
That's fair. I just want to add one thing that you said, which is you need an ambassador. I think you need two things, and most of the times can be the same person. You need an ambassador to promote it to the world, and you need a community manager to promote it and to organize it internally.
Yeah.
The community
Yeah.
manager will be the one creating the rituals, making sure that digital nomads have the connection with the locals, making sure that the businesses, the local businesses, actually make money out of us. Because later, when we were attacked by all the media, or they tried to attack us, the businesses and the people were the ones defending us. If you try to defend yourself,
Yeah.
nobody cares. But the news went to Madeira, and all these TV news, they tried to get the negative side of what we are doing, and only one, because she had to lie the hell out of their life, was able to find a negative angle. Everybody else, you see like interviews in the street with old ladies. Oh, what do you think about these nomads? Oh, I love them. They're so young. They bring life to Ponta do Sol. So our community managers, which in the beginning was us and then we hired people, were actually so important to make sure that the local businesses and the local people understood who we are, that they made money from us, that they were ready to welcome us with things like vegan foods. This didn't exist when I arrived to Madeira, to Ponta do Sol specifically. There was zero vegetarian or vegan food. Yet 25% of nomads would like to eat vegetarian at least a couple of times a week. So we need to fix that. There was no accommodation for digital nomads, so we had to fix that. And we fixed it by educating the local businesses to create businesses around us, for us, and make money out of us, providing services to us. So that was so important to have both angles. And most of the communities I see today fell in one of them. For example, I really believe that in Algarve, that has an incredible community, they fail at promotion because the people there live there and they're not around the world talking about the incredible community they're building in Algarve. Or other governments just talk about what they do, but then they have nobody at home building the community, creating the rituals, creating the events, connecting the people. It's very rare to have both. And we had both in my person in the beginning, and then we teach that to other community managers. We had both since day one. We did a global promotion, and I spent 24/7 the first 6 months just taking care of the community. So that made a huge difference. Going to the end, which was your question, what's the point? The literally point, and what we found in Madeira, I didn't know. One cool thing about this project is that in the remote workspace, we had a lot of theories on what would happen with remote work. What would happen if we could work from anywhere? What would happen to villages? Where would people live? And one of the strong beliefs that we had in the remote work community is that if we can work remotely, there is no point in living in big cities. We will be attracted more to villages. So the whole concept of the Nomad Village was that. Can we attract digital nomads to a village? Can we convince them to stay longer, to buy a house? And because Madeira, just like Prospera, has a special economic zone, can we convince them to invest here? And I had no idea if it was true or not. I just really strongly believe that it may happen. So we brought people. The first year we brought like 20,000 people total. And some of them started to buy houses. Some of them started to build businesses there. And actually, after 2 years, we start seeing the data. And they like to release data that we increased the number of new tech companies registered in Madeira by 79%, which is wild.
This is like an island.
It's in a small island.
Right?
It's like 250,000 people. It's insane. But the truth is, digital nomads brought visibility to the island. The island was known by all I remember the first day when we launched the project, I had my friends, the digital nomads, that saying, why Madeira? That's where my grandparents go for vacations. So the branding of the island was completely outside of our market. And then we had people starting to show, because all the digital nomads are native, phone native, right? We hang out on the social media, LinkedIn, Instagram. So suddenly we had all these digital nomads with a camera on their hands showing Madeira to the world. And they were not showing Funchal, because all our project was targeting Ponta do Sol, a beautiful village with 8,000 people. And so Ponta do Sol became the center point of Madeira. What happened was like all the news were about Ponta do Sol. We were in the cover of Fin-Air magazine, the air magazine of Finland. And it was never Funchal, it was always Ponta do Sol. And then when people come, imagine 20,000 people came to live there for 1, 2, 3 months. We had workshops every month on why people should build a business in Madeira. Why should people should invest? Because we have this special economic regime. We have a 5% tax. By the way, this is the context. And so because we did this in a very easy way, people found about Madeira. They fell in love with Madeira, with the quality of life, with the fast internet, with incredible roads, with the hiking, with the community. And oh, by the way, I make a lot of money and I can pay less taxes if I build my business here. So people start registering businesses and people start talking more and more and more about Madeira. So what ended up happening is like a funnel, right? You attract digital nomads, some become expats, they start paying taxes in Portugal. Some of them, 25% more or less, are entrepreneurs and they may bring your business to Portugal. Of course, in Portugal it's much harder. Madeira has a special economic zone, which in my opinion, all the countries should have. But it's just incredible the number of new businesses, especially on tech, that moved to Madeira just because we built a nomad village for 5 people.
Yeah. And I think the point too, as you're talking about the funnel, is at the time that you were really just in the thick of running the Nomad Village, there was no special visa for digital nomads yet. There were suitable pathways, right?
Yes.
So the point is, you can create a digital nomad visa. And personally, I think like many countries would benefit from having like clear, well thought out policy on this part, but it can be some other kind of talent visa. It can be a different residency pathway, right? There's not like a one size fits all. But the point is, if you want to bring nomads, you have to give them a pathway to getting more invested, right? And you have to help them through the bureaucracy and the red tape, especially when you are in a country with notoriously bad like red tape, like Portugal, or for me in Thailand. These systems are not, they're hard to operate in, even for a local person, so much less having a foreigner coming in there who they're, especially if they're exploring, right? They may not be committing to like, oh, it's not like I've come here because I've been sent by my company and I'm going to be sponsored to be here for a long time. It's like, I am here on my own, exploring the opportunities. I'm going to go where the ground is most fertile, like where I'm going to get help, where it's going to be easy, like not just easy, actually, like digital nomads have a high bar. I want to go where it's going to feel good, where it's going to be fun, where I'm going to have friends.
You know what's fun about Portugal is that we became the most famous country in Europe, at least, for digital nomads, completely by accident. You spoke with one of the responsibles, which was Rosanna. She's amazing. She's a rock star. But we had a whole preparation to attract people to Portugal. That's true. We had the D7 visa, which was the passive income visa, and we had the NHR. And both tools were developed not to attract digital nomads, not to attract remote workers, but the whole strategy of Portugal, of the genius people in front of the government, was to attract retirees. We built a whole ecosystem, the visa and with NHR, which is non-habitual resident status, just to attract retirees to Portugal. That was the whole angle before the nomad visa.
Funny.
It's wild. And somehow digital nomads and lots of lawyers, when we started to work with Portugal, when Rosanna started Digital Nomads Lisbon, and lots of things started to happen, they understood that the passive income built for retirees could be used and for digital nomads by saying that our salary outside Portugal could count as passive income because it's outside Portugal. And so for the first years, until 2022, I believe, when we helped the government to build the Nomad Visa, it was all about the D7 built for retirees that was bringing some of the youngest, most talented people in the world to live in Portugal. It was everything that happened in Portugal, besides the work that Rosanna did, and then Nomadex and Selena, just outside that was just an accident. Yet they get all the, what? Portugal is a visionary. No, it was an accident.
So the other side of this, right? Because some people may think like, oh, well, why should we have to like attract outside talent? Why do we need like other people to come make us great, right? I think the missed point there sometimes is that actually these sorts of activities are a way to prevent brain drain. So I'm curious, it hasn't even been a generation, right? Like literally within your professional life, which you are still like like you have so much career ahead of you.
I hope.
Like just in these few years, Portugal has like transformed, right? If you were like a university aged person now coming of age in Portugal, like what do you think you would have made the same choices? Because it's a fundamentally like different scene now, right?
Oh, no, it's fun. Yeah. And you hear a lot of noise online, but most of the Portuguese people, especially the young ones, are having a lot of fun for the first time. We have an international community in Portugal. You have some of the most interesting people in the world living in Portugal, and you have access to
Yeah.
them on your courtyard. That's quite special.
Yeah.
So I would say most people are really pro attracting talent. Yes, there are some issues right now with housing, which is not really our fault. It's mostly short-term tourism, it's lack of housing, and a lot of pension
The
and
golden
funds
visa as
from the
well.
US. I completely disagree.
No?
I disagree.
Really?
Data doesn't show. There
So
was
you
like
don't think the housing speculation has
there
something to
was
do with
I
that?
think
Okay.
let me tell you about the total numbers more or less, and take this with a grain of salt because I don't have the numbers right now. I believe that we had less than 6,000 golden visas being attributed. So are you telling me that the houses tripled the price because of 6,000 people?
Okay.
Hard to believe. What's really happening on that, just a short note, is it's a mix of things. But basically, since 2008, most of our construction sector was completely bankrupted because of the big crisis of 2008, the subprime. So we stopped construction up to today, 2025. Construction rate is still down over 90% from the 2007 levels. 90%, 90. So we are not building. And then there is several issues from legislation, approvals. It takes 3 years to be approved to build something in Portugal, which is madness.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
then at the same time, short-term tourism, residential short-term tourism became a thing, aka Airbnb. And what happened is that we lost 100,000 houses for Airbnb. We are not building new ones. But it's not the foreign people that are buying the houses. And the scary thing is
Yes.
that nobody speaks about it. It's the foreign companies. It's the BlackRock.
Yeah.
It's the Vanguard. They are buying millions and millions in residential real estate, creating scarcity on purpose. They are putting this real estate on Airbnb, making short-term gains. At the same time, the prices rise because there is less and less apartments on the market. So they make money twice. I had friends selling a house in Lisbon, and they said the first people to came after I put was a pension fund from the US. They came with a bag of money, they paid above the price, and they got the house. I had zero sales to do.
Wow.
So that's what's really happening. That's the real housing crisis. It's not the golden visa.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the digital nomads. It's not the Americans. Also, the number of Americans in Portugal is less than 10,000. Poor guys.
Yeah.
It's literally capitalism and no regulation
Yeah.
for that. Sorry, just a parenthesis because I think it's important.
No, it's a
keep
good
things clear.
rant. Yeah, because I think that's the thing, right? So none of us are really primed to be able to engage in like detail and nuance on like a global scope of issues, right? Our little monkey brains were made to handle like max 150 people whose gossip we track. So we live in the information age. It's much easier to absorb memes and narratives. But that's why it's so important, I think, as a digital nomad, like as digital nomads, we have this superpower of being able to like exist in multiple communities and fact check. If you hear a very like alarming news story about a place, like you don't have to rely just on the reporter's account of it. You can go ask your friends. Oftentimes, maybe even people who like have a much more rooted context and can give like a nuanced answer, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to buy wholesale into one story or the other. So like, thank you for your rant. Thank you for correcting my misunderstanding.
No, I love it because the special thing is I'm actually from Lisbon, right? So I'm a digital nomad.
Yeah.
I'm Portuguese and I'm from Lisbon. So in the end of the day, everybody hates me. The Portuguese hate me because I bring digital nomads, the ones that are against us. Digital nomads hate me because I'm Portuguese. I don't know. It's a fun place because everybody thinks because my name is not fully Portuguese. My last name is English. So most Portuguese people don't know that I'm Portuguese and that I'm from Lisbon. So I received death threats from the left wing and stuff like that. It was
Oh,
very interesting.
Lord.
Yeah, I know. Things became very territorial. But the irony is I'm actually from the center of Lisbon.
Yeah. No, that's funny because I've never experienced death threats, but I don't think any of my ventures have made it to the scale of yours. But it's the same thing as being like a Chiang Mai hometown hype girl.
Yeah.
But my surname is what was my Western father's like surname. And now I've taken my husband's surname. So here I have like a Hungarian surname, but I am like a Thai person living in my hometown. So identities are not the most obvious things in like the modern day and age.
It's true. And that's beautiful.
Yeah, I want to pick back up with a thread, and maybe that takes us from your work on the ground in Madeira to what daily life is like right now in Prospera, right? What makes a good event for digital nomads? Because as wonderful as like the whole running remote crew is, you know, like I think like thinking about the future of work and talking about how to do remote work is fun, but that's not actually the top of mind interest for the majority of digital nomads, right? So I think some people who are trying to think like, okay, Gonçalo says you need to host events for digital nomads. It might be quite a surprise to them that one of the most successful recurring digital nomad events that I was hosting in Chiang Mai was something my husband suggested because he was getting into biohacking, was a weekly ice bath on the rooftop.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
Right? That's not an obvious connection, right? So what kind of events do digital nomads and remote workers actually like and value and congregate around? What are those rituals and rhythms to bake in?
I'll tell you first what we started with in Madeira, which is still operating. I'm not working with Madeira anymore. And those events still happen every single week. So it became a very strong ritual. And then I'll tell you what I see happening now, which is different. And biohacking is one of them, of course. So Madeira, the rituals we have is, and I did it today in Prospera, actually, was since the first week of February 2021, when we opened, we have a community lunch every Wednesday at 12:30, and we rotate around the restaurants of Ponta do Sol. Up to today, I was there recently. I went to the community lunch. Still happens, still there, almost 5 years now. It's great. And it's just connecting people over lunch. There is no agenda. There is just everybody chooses a dish, they go and they speak with each other in a nice environment.
It's fellowship.
In a beautiful place. That's it. And food, we're Portuguese. We mingle around food.
Yeah.
That's what we do for a living. And the second one is workouts. So since the first week, we have workout on Monday, a workout on Wednesday, and a workout on Saturday by Madeira friends now in Funchal. So suffering together connects people. And those, this is true, put people CrossFit and suffering together and they will become best friends. And I think cold plunge is one of those things, actually. You suffer together, you become really strong friends. So those were the two we did every single week since the first time that connect everything, that you don't have to think. That's why they are rituals. Every Wednesday for the last 5 years, there's a community lunch on Wednesday. Oh, but it's Christmas Day, community lunch. Oh, but there's a community lunch. That's it. It's non-negotiable. And then we had and then this changed. So we have a party / networking event, which is Purple Friday. And what I learned against all the digital nomads' beliefs, and I suffered a little bit by this one, was that most locals don't really care about digital nomads. We believe there's this really strong line inside our community that we need to integrate. I think we should always have our open doors. I think we should try enough and always open the doors to the locals, please. Yet, most of the times, locals don't care. And this is what happened in Madeira. Yeah. This only changed when we stopped inviting them to workshops about digital marketing, coding, etc. And we started organizing an evening event with world DJs called Purple Fridays, where all the locals in the island went to attend. So we do it for free, still up to today as well. Yeah. I think now 4 years old. It's an event with electronic music, DJs from the world. It's only guest list, half digital nomads, half locals. We literally have one link just for digital nomads where no Portuguese can register, and a private list just with Portuguese people, locals from Madeira that no digital nomad can register. And we bring 250 of each every Friday, dance together, to party together, to network together. I could have organized all the crazy events you can expect. Locals would not come until I organized Purple Friday. So party still works. Organize parties. But make it a ritual. Purple Fridays in a beautiful place, beautiful music, high quality, way above the quality of parties that Madeira had before. And it's incredible. I was there again a couple of months ago. It's still going. It's more people than ever. Nice. We have to reject 50% of the people. So that's another event. So I would say definitely sports. Definitely just some chill thing without an agenda like a community lunch. Definitely kind of a party / networking event with high quality music. And then the new trends that are really, really strong is everything connected with longevity, the cold plunge, the sauna. I was just in Bansko in June for Bansko Nomad Fest. And I was in this really cool co-living space called Valentina. And it just happened that everybody there was an entrepreneur. And I was like, fuck yeah. Everybody was building stuff. Everybody was vibe coding. And everybody at 9 p.m. more or less went down to the sauna together. And we just did 1 hour, 15-minute sauna, cold plunge, 15-minute sauna, cold plunge, 15-minute sauna, cold plunge. It was my favorite part. And then sometimes we go back coding, then we went to sleep. But after a day of working, after a day of being there, every day you had this ritual where we go every night after dinner to cold plunge and sauna. It was some of the best things I experienced in the last 3 years. And I'm biased. So it really works. So definitely wellness, longevity, sports is one of the best ways right now to connect people. Everybody, I think digital nomads and then the rest of the world, we are in our wellness era where we all want to be beautiful and live forever. So embrace this era, create a cold plunge, buy some ice, and get a sauna. And these sauna and cold plunge events are a blast. So you can make it as big as Coffee and Chill in Miami or as small as 5 guys in a sauna and then cold plunging, talking about startups and vibe coding. Anything in between is a great success, right?
Yeah. I do think there is kind of like the founder effect when it comes to the nomad movement, that this is like, to be honest, a millennial movement. Like, it doesn't mean that like Gen X, Gen Z, and like even boomers like are digital nomads, right? Like, I know a tremendous number of especially female digital nomads in their like 50s who are like living their best lives. So it's not that they're not allowed in this movement, but the reality is that there is just like a larger demographic, right? So I think it's no surprise that things like health and family have sort of naturally become a little bit more important to just the larger digital nomad culture as those culture creators are just maturing through certain life phases, right?
I agree. I think one of the problems of the families right now, and I have a family, I'm building mine. I'm still on my first one. She's 2 years and a half right now. Is that dating is really, really hard for digital nomads. I was lucky. I started with my wife. We are together for 13 years. So we went from university to digital nomads to entrepreneurs. But I see my friends trying to date in this today. I don't think it's just digital nomads. I think dating right now must be crazy. I'm so happy we did it before. We really were really, really good on this one. So hell yeah for us. It's really, really hard for digital nomads to date because one of the things that we conquered while becoming digital nomads, and it was not easy back then, was our freedom, our location independence.
Yes.
And when you go date with another person, if he or she had to work through the same, to fight the status quo, to say no to their family, I'm becoming a nomad, I'm not buying a house, I'm not buying a car, ciao, see me in Chiang Mai. So we had to conquer it, and it was not easy. And when you start dating someone, you lose part of that freedom, like I did working with governments. I date governments now. And so it's very, very hard for most people to say no to freedom to be with another person. I think that's the problem because they hook up. I see in my events, they hook up. They go everywhere. When it comes time to the commitment, let's decide where we go next together. That's usually when things go wrong. Yeah. So we are too independent. So we need to fix that. And then we'll have a lot of nomad babies.
Yeah. And I think it tends to be, the idea of how central children are to families and marriages is something that's often just like coded like as like right wing, as conservative. But it's an undeniable effect. Like when you are married, and I think it's Hollywood, it's Disney, like marriage, and it's so romanticized that sometimes we forget that marriage is functional. Marriage is a special permission from the government, and it's a special relationship that people like give importance and support and credence to because the purpose is family formation. The purpose is that you're going to have children through this special relationship status. And it's also, I think it's hard to give up your freedom to commit to another person because there's a real like, oh, well, why not? I'm supposed to go to like Bansko this summer. Like, why am I going to stay longer in Japan to like keep dating you? That's a real question for some people. And so even if you make it through like that funnel, right, and you get married, then you are giving up a very fun, idealistic, like free, like fun lifestyle in order to have children. And without children, you lose something of the glue of marriage, I think. Like it is, it's certainly been a gauntlet for me to sort of like realize this, because I think I personally came through with like really idealized like notions. I don't think I sort of like knew how important all this stuff was going to be until I was like right in it. So maybe you have a completely different experience, but now my whole life is like reoriented around our small humans. Like
Yeah.
if we have any issues in our relationship, like we have to fix it, not just because we love each other, but because we need to be a really good team, because we have to show up for our children and support them. And like everything that we do, like the decisions that we make, what work we take on, what work we don't take on, like how do we balance the load? In our family, it just comes down to like, what's the legacy like that we're creating for our children? We want to leave them with a better world. We want to give them more than we had. And that's just a natural human instinct, right? So I'm curious, like, so you and your wife, like, so my husband and I got married within a few years of meeting each other, but you guys were together for 13 years before you like, when along that timeline did you get married? And
10
like
years.
what, okay, so you were together for 10 years before you got married. And then what made you pull the trigger and decide that you were ready to become parents?
Okay, so the trigger to get married was visas. We were in
We're back full circle. Okay.
very romantic stuff. We were in the police station of Cabo Verde, from all places in Africa, and I made more money because I'm an entrepreneur. Katrina makes less money because she had a job. Now she's full-time mom. And Katrina is my wife, and we were in this police station, and we were not married. So to get the visa, she needed to make more money than she did. I was working with the government. It was not a problem, but legally she could not get the visa because she was making less money than the threshold. Yet, if we were a couple, my money would count for her threshold, and we as a family would be an easy pass. And in that police station, looking at the police people saying, will they give us the visa or not? We were like, we should get married. We should just fix this. So that's the romantic story. I think a year later, we got married in Madeira, in Ponta do Sol. And 1 year after that, we decided to have a baby, basically. Well, no, 1 year after that, we had the baby. So 2 months after that, we decided to have a baby. Katrina stopped taking the pill. She got pregnant right away, so we were expecting more time in between. Because I had a upcoming contract with Brazil that then I had to go alone. So we were separated in half of the pregnancy because I had a contract to with Brazil.
Yeah.
And then we just did it. We had this different experience. I think for us, it was very, very hard to have the baby. We are still full-time nomads. We don't have a house.
Yeah.
We left Madeira, so now we don't have anything, actually. And for us, it was much harder because we lost the freedom we had, like you said. And mostly my wife, Katrina, lost the freedom she had to do whatever she wants. I can still go out. I can still go to Brazil for a week and come back, or go to a conference and leave the baby because she's the mother and she's 12 years and a half. So she still depends a lot of the mother. She will never stay alone with me still for a week, for example. So I'm the money maker of the family, which I love. She decided to be a full-time mother and just be there for the whole time. It was a good and bad decision at the same time. Good because she loves it. Bad because it's very, very hard to be a full-time mother, much more than it is to make money. Money is a skill. Being a first-time mother is a much harder skill to match. And you are a mother, so I'm not telling more, but the body changes, the relationship with your husband changes, and you have to navigate all that full of hormones, breastfeeding. It's madness. So the first year for us was quite difficult in that regards. As a father, I didn't feel I had a strong connection with my daughter as well, because it develops a little bit later to the father. I was like, what the hell is going on? I don't feel that crazy love I was expecting. So it feels like that after some research is normal. And now I have fun since 1 year and a half.
Yeah.
I have so much fun every day. Life is a little bit more balanced since we came to Prospera, actually. But it's still hard for her. It's still hard for Katarina. It's still hard for us as a couple. It's much harder than it was beforehand. If we had an argument, even if we don't talk for 1 day, then everything is easy. It's very,
Did you
very hard.
guys make a point of spending any time with family? Did you have any other friends who had small kids? Like, did you have any sort of village as you were going through the thick of that?
We had Ponta do Sol. Well, my baby was born officially. She's registered in Ponta do Sol, so she's part of the whole Digital Nomads Madeira and Digital Nomad
Mm-hmm.
Village history. And now we try. I have contracts with government, so it's not a normal life where we actually choose. If I could choose, probably I'll spend more time in
Mm-hmm.
places with families, like even
Yeah.
Bansko. I don't like Bansko personally. I'm a beach kind of person, but I
Mm-hmm.
would spend more time in places like Bali, maybe Grain School. I don't know. I would spend more times in places that have a world schooling community. While
Yeah.
right now we don't because of what I do for a living. So
Yeah.
we have the lifestyle. We lost the freedom because of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're in Prospera. There are other families, not too many. School only starts next week. And so there is not many kids around. But for example, in Brazil, we stay usually 5 months in Brazil nowadays every year. Our condominium has like 50 kids in it. She makes friends.
Nice.
We are part of the family. Everybody's excited for us to go back in a couple of months. So in Brazil, we
Yeah.
have our own village, our own people. She speaks
Nice.
half Brazilian after she goes there. She watches
Mm-hmm.
cartoons in Brazilian Portuguese. So we have that in Brazil. And then we try to go to Portugal as much as I can, but not enough for our families. And reality starts to settle in. You see them getting older. You see them like watching the baby,
Yeah.
checking the baby once a year, twice a year. We don't spend
Mm-hmm.
Christmas in Portugal anymore, for example, because it's way too cold. And usually we are in South America already in Brazil. So it's a hard balance to have a baby and knowing that the grandparents and Carolina had the grandparents still alive. The
Oh,
grandmothers actually still
wow.
alive, which is amazing. But you never know, right? We are right now in Prospera, Honduras, then we go to Brazil. We are only coming back to Portugal almost in 1 year. So it's hard,
Yeah.
but that's what we signed up to. I couldn't live in Portugal right now. I don't like the weather. It's too small. There is a great community of people in Lisbon, in Porto, and in Madeira. But as a Portuguese, it's too small for me. I need
Mm-hmm.
to build. I think I'm in my building
Yeah.
era, so I think there's so much to do still around the world before I can go to a place and settle for longer. Also, I have full ADHD,
Yeah.
so I'll be bored to death in Portugal very, very fast. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's our challenge is trying to balance going to Portugal, trying to balance being with our family and being in places where Carolina can have another kids. Here there is a school that starts in 1 week. We are not putting her in the school because I don't think it fits what we're trying to teach her, actually.
Mm-hmm.
If there was like a
Yeah,
forest
she's still very
school,
young.
yeah.
Yeah. Two
But
and a half.
yeah,
She
so in
wants to be with
Brazil,
mommy.
yeah, 100%. We have other friends. Actually, Daniel, the CEO of Noma Collective, is here as well. He has a baby almost the same
Oh,
age. Yeah, he's around. So he has a baby almost the same age. So they're playing together. And yeah, we try to hang out with other parents, but it's not something that we do yet with too much focus. With more time, if possible, we will. And I think, honestly,
yeah.
Rio for us is the perfect place right now because of
Yeah.
that, because of the infrastructure, because of the quality of life. I know that's not what you heard on the media, but Rio for me is right now my favorite city in the world. And it just happens that for my baby and for my wife, it's also their favorite place. So they're very aligned.
Nice. Yeah. You're going to have a shift soon too, because right now at like 2.5, they play alongside other kids. But like when you go from like 3 to 4, that's when they like figure out how to play like with other kids. And it becomes a whole nother thing. We're now like in a phase where I really love that there's so many families around us. And I try as hard as possible to like not sound like a crazy person, but just be very noticeably like warm and inviting with other families and say like, hey, my husband and I both work from home. We love to have friends over. We love to host. Like, please come over whenever you feel like it. Just drop by. Like, it's not inconvenience to us. Because I ascribe to like, it's so much easier actually to manage more kids. Is this sort of like a phase I'm entering personally? Because like a 9-year-old is so much more entertaining to my kids than I can ever be. And it makes the whole job easier. Um,
Yes.
So yeah. So we're sort of getting an assessment of your life for like how you personally like make decisions on where to go. That's largely driven by your work. But you're definitely noticing for your wife and for your daughter what's on offer for them, right?
Yeah.
And you have of late, so you were steeped in this world of like startups, innovation, policy, digital nomads, talent for a while. But more recently, you've been sucked into this whole other world of like charter cities, free cities. The through line is kind of special economic zones, right? So you're taking expertise in one mode of development for that into another. So tell me about this intellectual journey, what brought you to Prospera and
Mm.
this sort of cohort that you're hosting now.
I was just thinking about it. It was a lot of accidents.
Happy accidents, yeah.
Yeah,
Live
no, I'm very
life.
happy. The first one is Plumia. So Plumia is a project from
Yay.
Safety Wing, led by Lauren Khazavi. And she's the one responsible for slowly introducing me to this world. They organized a conference in Morocco, in Essaouira, where I met the first people building something like this. Plumia was the first online country that I learned about. And because of Lauren, I learned about others. I learned about the network state. From Balaji, I read network state book. And so I'm very new here. And also by accident, this year at the same conference in Plumia Connect, I ended up meeting the podcast host for the Free Cities podcast. And
Aha.
out of nowhere, just a few weeks after I learned about Prospera, after publicly criticizing it a little bit on how they approach the world, and after I was invited to come here and work with them for some months, I got to give an interview in the biggest podcast in the Free Cities world, talking about what I would do differently. So right now, coming to Prospera, like everybody knows me because of the podcast, which is crazy because I don't know anyone in
Mm.
this world. But all this happened because Plumia is building something incredible for some years now, and I'm very involved with them. I'm a friend from Lauren. I love her. What she's building is out of this world. And because of her conference, she connects these different worlds, Plumia Connect. So she connects the research that you did as well. She connects the network state. She connects the free cities. She connects my work and the digital nomad visas and the governments. So it's one of the most interesting events I get to attend every year since she started. And also by accident, the Yes Theory, which is a channel I follow for like 5 years now, I would say, they did a whole video on Prospera, on the good things, the bad things, the dirt, etc. And it's
Nice.
like, I want to go there. So it was all these different touch points that kind of combined at the same time for me to contact Prospera, and then they saw what I did. They knew my history with Portugal, with Madeira, and so invited me to come here for some months to work with them. But the true thing is that I think this is the missing piece for our community. I am here with huge self-interest, where I believe that digital nomads conquered the freedom to work from anywhere. Digital nomads conquered this idea of being independent economically. We make our own money. We are not dependent of most companies. Usually we are entrepreneurs, freelancers with some remote workers still. We were on the hands of property managers up until. So what happens in a place like Madeira
Yay.
is that I built a community. I brought usually 30 to 50 millions a year to Madeira. I still only made the first money as a consultant. So I didn't get a piece of it. I only made everybody else rich, which is great for everybody else. But my bank account and my baby don't like this. And the truth is, when mass tourism came back, and because of tourism revenge, mass tourism came back very, very strong to Europe. The first ones to be kicked out, ironically, something you will not see in the news, are the digital nomads, because digital nomads take advantage of the seasonality. We never can go to the places
Yeah.
in the main season. We go on the low season because we want to have better accommodation deals.
Yeah.
So we are literally being kicked out from places we helped made famous, like Lisbon, like Porto, like Ponta do Sol, because mass tourism pays three times more than we do. And I'm very pissed about it. And so the whole concept is we need to own our own stuff. We need to own our own real estate. And why not go further? We need to own our own communities. So places like Prospera kind of built this without knowing, because they never thought, I believe, into targeting digital nomads as well. But for me, Prospera
Yeah.
is the dream. It's a place where we can come, mingle with people like us, have a special economic zone, but also have an incredible building with a co-work. It's like a big co-living place where you can actually buy an apartment. There is fractional ownership being developed here. There is crypto. There is everything that we could dream about in a city being built here from scratch by us, for us. And so from my individual digital nomad perspective, this is the dream. From their perspective, it's a way to actually attract the people that is very hard to attract. What they figured it out, and many cities did the same, is that it's very, very hard to attract people to just move there. We are still
Yeah.
in Roatan. This is still the Honduras. People don't just wake up one day, they're in Miami, they say, oh, let's leave to Roatan in the middle of the Caribbean, in this country of Honduras, which has had this kind of shady in some ways in terms of security, etc. Because Roatan is Honduras, so the marketing is connected with the Honduras. And they understood now, that's why I'm here, that there is something in between people moving here and people learning about it. And that's digital nomads.
Yeah.
Digital nomads can come here for 2-3 months. They can enjoy it. They can learn about it. They can contribute to the community. They can contribute with their knowledge. We can be part of something way bigger than us. We can actually have ownership of our community. We can have ownership of our businesses. We can build our own businesses here from us, for us. And that's magical. That is still, for me, the missing part in the digital nomad community. And surprisingly, somebody that probably never focused on digital nomads is building the perfect solution for us. And I know there are many, many incredible projects around the world being developed slowly, but Prospera is the most developed one right now. And it's incredible what they conquered, the fight they had. Honduras right now has a socialist government, huge fight with the government. There's elections in November. Everything seems to go well for us. And it's just the dream, honestly. Being here, it's still very early, let me be honest. It's not like things are perfect here. There's a lot to develop. It's still like in the infancy of the whole thing. If you come here in 3 years, or if you come here now because you want to build something special, for example, there'll be a Bitcoin village that they are now developing. There will be a few towers here with studios that are being developed in the next year. So if you come here in 3 years, you're going to see completely different. And if you want to build a business, if you want to build a village from zero inside Prospera, the time is pretty much now. And so says Prospera says,
literally from ground up. Yeah.
It's now, you can have ownership. You can build in a piece of land in the future of these cities. You can be the one bringing your community to a special place in a tropical island that can be yours. You can literally build now. Try to do that in Lisbon. Try to do that even in Chiang Mai right now. It's so much hard. So I think that's the dream. And the reason I am here is literally because I saw that. I saw that what Prosper was building is building. What other people are trying to build is the nomad dream. Yet no nomad knows about Prospera. I didn't. I am very deep in this. 3 months ago, I didn't know about Prospera. How the hell my whole community doesn't know about this? How the hell my community is not coming here? So we are here to fix it. We are creating an event, a retreat of 1 week, but also most people will stay for the whole month. And it's basically, honestly, just me showing up the lifestyle of Prospera, me showing up the opportunities, and Prospera showing up what is this all about. And I strongly believe that the kind of people we are bringing, everyone is an entrepreneur. So everybody will start to build on their head ideas of what they can build here, businesses, online and offline. Everything is yet to be done, honestly. There is nothing that is perfect. Everything is yet to be done. We have the infrastructure. We have the legal infrastructure. We need the people to build the businesses. People don't just move places. Digital nomads can stay here for 2-3 months at a time, build, and then keep traveling. Also, Central America is quite incredible in general. So that's why I'm here, because this place is crazy beautiful. It's the dream of it's a dream that digital nomads don't know they have.
Yeah. So I think as someone coming from the digital nomad side, it's pretty obvious to you why this is like a match made in heaven. But I want to talk more about it, maybe taking the perspective from like the other side, people who have come to this from like the Bitcoin community or like the Web3 space without necessarily like, maybe they've only seen digital nomads in the news, or they think that like, oh, these are just like, backpackers with laptops who are trying to like fake their way, but they're actually, they're just like brokies with a dream. people who might take that view? Like, how would you want to what sort of education would you like to sort of create around why digital nomads are a good, attractive opportunity? What do these enclaves, special economic zones, free cities, charter cities, what do they gain from attracting digital nomads? Who are these people?
It's interesting that most of these places believed before, and this is still very early. Prospera is guilty of it as well. We will build it and they will come. And by them, I think Prospera believed it was the libertarian people that always wanted to leave the infrastructure of the government. We have an alternative here. What we conquered is unique in the world. They will just come. They didn't. Because it's very, very hard to move to a new country out of nowhere. If you are not a nomad, if your income is not remote, if you don't have the mindset of traveling and living anywhere, you will not simply move to a place in the middle of an island in the Honduras just because somebody is building something that you think it may be cool in the future. This doesn't happen. Digital nomads are the only people that can go anywhere as long as we have internet and help it grow. We are the only people that can contribute with our presence, with our money, with our knowledge to a place like Prospera right now without any very strong investment in infrastructure or anything else.
Yeah, it's a very risk-tolerant group.
Because we can just move. We come for a month. There's a digital nomad couple here. They came for a month. They liked it. They renewed for 3 months. So they are still here. They are building businesses. They're Prospera Go, which is like kind of a rent-a-car, but you rent by hour. So they came as digital nomads. They loved it. They stayed. And there is many more like that. There is one of them is building here, just a building next to us. And it was a digital nomad. He had co-living places in Europe. He came here. He fell in love. He saw the opportunity. He's staying. He's building. Only digital nomads can do this. Nobody in their own mind, especially older people with more experience on business, with more experience on life, with families, just move to a place. We do. It's what we do for our whole life. So it's easy for us to move to a place. If you are building something somewhere, there's a high chance that if you don't target digital nomads, that if you don't target remote work people, the remote entrepreneurs, that you will fail because it's very, very hard to attract people. Cities, countries are fighting, are pouring millions in to attract people. Why are you different? And so the best and the easiest way to build a community is by having people, and the easiest way to have people is starting by digital nomads. In here, they added a layer, so they have events that bring people for a week. The second layer is going to be digital nomads, and the third layer is we want people to move here. That's our goal. We want this to become a village, a city, and have permanent residents building, being part of Prospera. So we need to balance all it out. I think, in my opinion, an ideal balance like 50% residents, 30% nomads, 20% short-term / events, etc. And then you have a perfect community, whatever that means. I don't see this working without digital nomads. And I don't think they ever consider it before now. I don't think most free cities ever thought about digital nomads as a solution until now. And because of Prospera, because of the Free Cities podcast, I see more and more people understanding this is a solution to attract the first residents.
Yeah. So who do you think they assumed would be the residents? You mentioned libertarians, but I also think it's so, I think about like flag theory, for example, right? People who, this aspect of geo-arbitrage, sort of hacking citizenship, passport, where you domicile your business, where you're a tax resident, etc. This is a game that the elite have always played.
Yes.
And it's something that because of remote work and the digital nomad lifestyle has kind of become democratized, right? So do you think these places were like assumed that they were attracting like the elites and they were just having a hard time doing that because like not everyone can be like Montenegro, or like what do you think from what you've learned, like speaking to people, like was it just purely like naivete, like that build it they will come? Because like there's some like real like certified geniuses who are involved in like
yes
these kinds of projects, right? So surely, like, you know, they made some assumption, and perhaps it's been the wrong assumption, and this is what you're hoping to course correct. But if you can help, for my own edification,
Yeah.
what do you suspect were the mistakes built in?
Definitely, I want to keep the libertarian dream. So there is
Yeah.
thousands and millions of people who are libertarians who dream with something like Prospera.
Mhm.
Yet, I'm not sure if libertarians are the first clients of the libertarian dream, ironically. And second, I think the crypto people. So everybody in the Web3, crypto, because most of them are location and independent. We are building literally in crypto, like the Infinita, which is the longevity side of Prospera, longevity community inside, where the co-working where I am is from Infinita, from Nicholas. They were able to create their own crypto. So you can pay with lives, which is the name of the crypto. You go to the cafe and you pay everywhere with lives. Yesterday, I bought my first coffee with Bitcoin, which I bought and I sold, but I never had a Bitcoin wallet in my life. Here, it's just normal. So they have a Bitcoin center. They have the Bitcoin now being developed, the Bitcoin district. So they have all these crypto-centric ideas that technically it would work. Yet crypto people move also between communities. That's why Miami works. That's why Lisbon works, because that's why Dubai works. They also travel between communities, not different from Digital Nomad. So you need to attract the first ones, and the first ones probably will be nomads as well. So I think those were the two big communities they expect to attract either way, crypto-centric community and the libertarians. But I think, and something I learned actually afterwards, was that you can build a libertarian dream, but the first people moving may not be libertarians. They may just be normal people looking for a better life. They must be location-independent entrepreneurs looking for a place to grow their kids that's not New York. And to attract them, the strategies that you have to use are very different. They don't only care about the legal infrastructure like other entrepreneurs would do, like libertarians would do. We care about quality of life. We care about the school for the kids. We care about the gym. We care about the cold plunge. We care about activities for the kids and for us to do. And this part, in my opinion, was not fully developed in the project. So I come here. If you come here to build right now, this is perfect. You have a building, you can build, there is a small gym, there is a great co-working space, and there is housing. If you are looking for high quality of life, I would argue that the network school in Malaysia from Balaji did a much better work. So I see all these videos that people are creating there. The one thing people talk the most is not Balaji, is not what they learn there, it's the gym. Everybody talks about the gym. And everybody's focusing on wellness, longevity. It's the one thing that everybody's sharing. So they understood that to attract people, they need to have the perfect conditions when it comes to a gym, to wellness, to activities. So they have a paddle court, they have a basketball court. They really understand that. I believe that part, I call it the 25% of social layer was not built in Prospera right now. So we are now looking into that, see how we can improve it, how we can make living here fun, how we can integrate people better, how we can have more sports, how we can have better gyms, how we can have cold plunges. And we're focusing a lot on longevity, so we need to have these very, very good. So what I'm trying to convince everybody here is that without that, we will not succeed. We need to make Prospera a fun place to live, so we can attract people like me, people like you, families, digital nomads, remote workers, entrepreneurs. It cannot be just a place where it's incredible to live. It really needs to be a place where you can have a fulfilling life, and it needs to be a very good alternative to Miami, to New York. And you should move here because the smartest people in the world are here, and because you can have an incredible life with incredible infrastructure. I think without that, it's going to be very hard to convince people moving here.
Yeah. So you want digital nomads to become owners in this context, right? Partially to avoid the heartbreak of being kicked out of those places after revenge tourism came and booted you out. You had a post make pretty big rounds, go viral on LinkedIn. I think it was like last week, with making a little smackdown with Airbnb, which we have discussed before. So, you frequently have pieces, thought pieces that make a big impact. But this one, I think, resonated especially quickly when I looked at, like, when did Gonçalo publish this and how many reactions has it gotten. So from your perspective, tell us the story. What is the issue with Airbnb, and where do you think the solution lies?
I really believe that Airbnb is one of the worst solutions right now for digital nomads and for midterm accommodation. Both the platform tried, and they make 30% of the money I think they make is from midterm. But the reality is that we are overpaying. We are trying to fight short-term pricing, which is impossible. And it's just you don't never know what you get. I remember I booked an Airbnb in Athens, and I barely had internet, and it said I had a working space. It was great to work from. So it's not reliable anymore. And I really think that we will slowly be leaving Airbnb. And looking at the comments of my post, which is basically digital nomads will stop using Airbnb, it looks like I'm not the only one. Many people already stopped using it. Many others are just waiting for a solution to stop using it. And definitely, I see a big trend where Airbnb doesn't serve us anymore because it's serving short-term tourism. It's serving the BlackRocks and the Vanguards of this world that are optimizing for the money. And if we are honest, we are not the best money makers for Airbnb, especially in cities. Short-term tourism is. So I understand the bet, but we need something else. Like if we don't use Airbnb, then what? Part of the solution is definitely ownership. I believe we need to start owning houses or even fractionalizing co-living spaces. And if you love Chiang Mai, you love Lisbon, and you love Prospera, maybe start getting a piece of an apartment in each of these places and spend some time there, but start owning it. So when you leave, you can rent other digital nomads, you can make money, you can prepare the apartment with a nice monitor, a nice desk, a nice chair. So you can actually have a fulfilling life in beautiful apartments from us by us. So I see the midterm is not being served properly by accommodation. Even co-living spaces are not serving us properly. The good co-living spaces that are very social, etc., are made for a specific type of people, and they are amazing on providing community to people. I think, as you said, we are millennials now. We are having babies, so we need to have also serviced apartments. So I do see, and I was contacted by lots of people since that post, especially serviced apartments providers that want to target us, and it's very, very interesting. So what I'm trying to build now with NomadX, which is the full circle moment for NomadX as well, that started as an alternative to Airbnb, it stopped being an alternative to Airbnb, and it's becoming an alternative to Airbnb, is that instead of having a platform where you put your house with zero quality assurance for digital nomads to rent, and usually Airbnb, no, usually no, Airbnb takes a 30% out of the money you get. We are just inverting this. So we are working with less providers, people that want to target digital nomads, but they do have to prove the internet speed. They do have to prove they have a proper kitchen. They do have to prove that they have a proper working space, etc. And if they are approved, we worked almost as a partner of them. So we don't make money when you rent directly with them. We are acting as marketing partners from all the listings, promoting them, making sure that if you are perfect for us and you never heard about you, we will make sure that the whole community will learn about the place that you have to rent in X. And so that's the whole concept we are doing, basically inverting, because everybody was building out alternatives for Airbnb that for me, they sounded and they felt like the same, just with a different branding and less houses. And I think curation is going to be a big part of this game. And then hopefully we can also have digital nomads renting to digital nomads, which I think this exchange platform. So you have now several exchange platforms where you can put your house there and then you gain points, etc. Will be also very interesting for that. But I think we will have incredible companies building for us, putting their serviced apartments just for remote workers instead of short-term tourism, because they want to target people like us. And they understand that hybrid accommodation is the future. They have working spaces. They have, like the social hub in Europe is a good example. And they don't fully understand the nomad markets. They need a partner inside the market to gain trust and to understand how to target us. And NomadX is going to be that partner, hopefully.
So if you are investing in this space, right? Lay out what are the critical levers? Like what is kind of like a policy or a design thing? What is a marketing thing? And what's like a physical build architectural infrastructure thing, right? Because we say top of mind, nomads go where there are nomads. So you have to have an answer to the community aspect. And then you also, but right before that, even fundamentally, okay, so fast Wi-Fi, right, is the absolute non-negotiable. But with Starlink now, that everyone has some sort of solution to that, you assume. You just need to tick that box appropriately. Nomads go where nomads go. So you need to have an answer to community. But then what makes housing particularly suitable to nomads or not? You need to be able to rent them for like a medium term accommodation, right? Digital
Yes.
nomads are not like tourists who stay in a place for only who want nightly rates or even weekly rates, but ideally like monthly rate, but no 1 year lease requirement, right?
Yeah.
And
That's still a
then
problem in Europe.
what are the boxes to tick? What makes something so well suited to the digital nomad, and perhaps and then in your case, I guess the digital nomad family, because I think that's not obvious to some people.
That's true. Well, for me, the basics that no accommodation can miss is a proper kitchen, a proper table and chair to work, ideally a monitor, uh, easiness to book. I don't want to have to deal with people. I want to go to a website, book it, and never speak with people, ideally, which is ironic because we love community. It needs to be really well plugged in into the local community. Meaning, if I rent an apartment, I want to have all the information about where to clean my clothes, where to go for coffee, which co-working spaces are around. Just make a booklet where I can learn everything easily. Just make my onboarding and my integration easier. And then I really think if you can be integrated in the community, like if you have a place in Lisbon, just point to the communities, point to the events that you think these nomads will attend and activities as well. I think activities are so important. So if you're in Madeira, you should have what are the hikes that are closest to your apartment? What are the things that you need to do to experience Madeira? What you need to eat? These little things are actually surprisingly important. And if you have a bigger place, like a shared apartment building, the third spaces killer. So if you have the basics, amazing. We probably will rent the basics. Today, if you have a building and you have a proper gym inside, if you have a working space inside, if you have a sauna and a cold plunge inside, I'm paying double to be there. That's it. It's as simple as that. If you have those three things in a building, in your shared spaces, and I don't have to leave the building. If you have a cafe where I can get foods, I'm not leaving. I'm moving there. I'm staying there from Monday to Friday. I'm just leaving on Saturday because you have everything I want, and I'm ready to pay for the convenience of living, working, and exercising in the same place. If you have that, I'm buying tomorrow.
So, kind of making the case for where people might express concerns about that, then how does that not make digital nomads potentially like these $0 tourists that don't actually inject anything into the local economy if basically one person is primed to capture all of that rent? How do you address that side of things?
First, I'm talking about the dream. That would be the dream of an entrepreneur like myself, who really wants to have an easy life from Monday to Friday. And then on the weekend, I'm out and about. Nobody sees me. Even in Ponta do Sol was like that. From Monday to Friday, we just spent money in Ponta do Sol. On the weekend, Ponta do Sol was empty because we all left to explore the island. You couldn't see one single nomad lost in Ponta do Sol. Only the Funchal people, the main city, came to Ponta do Sol and they said, there is no nomads in Ponta do Sol because we were not there. We were exploring the island. So there is two lives of a digital nomad. There is the Monday to Friday where we work, we cook at home, and we are spending money almost like a local in that regards. We go to the supermarket, go to the hairdresser, we do all these things, we act as locals. And on the weekend, we become tourists. In the weekend, we go explore. In the weekend, we spend money on the tourism side of the place where we are. So that's the same as saying locals don't spend money in the economy. They do. So it's very weird. I think we just live in the mix of these two worlds. We are locals from Monday to Friday most of the time. And on the weekend, we become tourists and we do the touristic stuff that we usually don't like, but we still want to do it because if you're in Chiang Mai, you have to visit certain things or else we're not really in Chiang Mai. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
this
why
mix that's
travel
very
if you're
interesting.
not getting
Experiencing.
like
Yeah.
what's unique and special about that place,
Yeah.
right?
And this is especially true
Yeah.
for entrepreneurs. So I know because I'm an entrepreneur, I have to build, I have to work in stupid hours, and I want the accessibility to serve me. Most remote workers are much more open and well integrated than I am. So it's this mix of things that we need to balance out. And most people right now are not entrepreneurs. So there is several worlds. And you can build, for example, the social hub in Porto. They integrated the economy. So they have different people exploring the hairdresser, the cafe. It's all different businesses, but they kind of are in the same building. The social hub in Porto is one of the best cases of hybrid hospitality. It's just really, really, really good.
Sorry, I just need to go drop off this baby and I'll be right back. So,
Parent life.
yeah, I want to come back to the fitness and kind of the family aspect then, as far as like rating location and amenities. So, one thing I noticed is that it was after you became a dad that I saw you very actively posting about getting fit, looking after your health more. And like now that you're here in Prospera, you're really just like echoing that. That is so central to the lifestyle that you designed for yourself, right? So, I'm curious then. So, rate your experience so far in Prospera for dads, for moms, and for kids. You
Hmm.
know, do you feel healthy? Do you feel whole?
It's interesting. I think it's a 7 on pretty much everything yet.
Huh.
It's not there yet. It's on the way. It can be built. It's the same. I just said this to the CEO of Prospera. We are 75% done. What they did here is 75% of the work we need to do to have people happy. 75% of the work we need to do to attract people. We need the 25%. And so what's here right now is we do have a school, a small pristine academy. We do have the beach club with amazing pool, etc. We don't have, for example, a park for the kids to play, just with toys and slides and everything. We don't have that yet, and I don't think there is anything of that in the island I've ever seen. And so they can go to the school, they can play sports like tennis and golf, but there is no football court inside Prosper yet. So we are missing some layers on the kids' experience, in my opinion. Especially the playground is essential. We are already working on it. It's one of the first things I pointed out when I arrived here. Like, where is the playground? How do we attract families if there is no playground? Where is my kid playing?
Yeah.
This was one of the first things that we complained right about. Yeah, my job is complaining right now. And so I would say,
You're a consultant. You're a
That's
professional
literally what I
complainer.
do.
I never thought about it that way.
oh no, I am. So they say I'm a paid bitcher. I'm bitching all around this place, but I'm paid for it. So I would say the kids' experience, because they have the school, they have some sports, is 7 out of 10, because they miss the playground, they miss better integration with sports, and we can do more to have them here. Without that, it's quite hard to have kids being fully happy here. For the father is entrepreneur, aka me. So the father has 2 working spaces. He has 2 gyms, which are also 7 out of 10. The working space, this one is a 9 out of 10. Infinite, the working space is very good. They have monitors, it's really nice. So I'd say my experience as an entrepreneur, as a father, is actually quite good. I would say 8.5. I miss more sports. I miss a better gym. I miss a recovery area. We are working on all this since I arrived here. That's why I'm here, literally. And so right now the experience is like 7.5 to 8 out of 10, because I still miss more sports. I still miss more community. But now we are literally, today we have a new experience manager to address lots of the questions I had in terms of onboarding, etc. For the mother is having fun. So the mother is training for High Rocks, which is kind of a CrossFit competition. And she can do that in the gym. She has a decent gym as well. She would prefer to have a better gym, so she would improve that. She's most of the time with the baby. She misses the playground, of course, but she can go to the beach club. She can walk around. We have our own pool in the villa we are. She comes to the cafe here. We have 3 restaurants there, so it's quite okay in terms of food. Everything else, the villas are amazing, so that's also good. I think the mother is probably winning right now, ironically.
Nice.
So the mother, I think, is right now is an 8.5. We are here for 2 weeks and a half only, but we now have a routine that she loves. So she wakes up at 5:30. Here is normal to wake up at 5:30. By the way, the sunrise at 5:30. So she goes to the gym at 6, and then she stays with the baby. But she goes to the beach club. They go to the pool. They swim. They play. We still miss the playground. So I think it's a solid 7.5 in general.
Nice.
But honestly, this place is 2 years old maximum, so it's not bad. But we need now to build more social infrastructure, more in general, like third spaces. We really need that to connect people, to attract more people, more sports facilities, and make it easier to onboard and integrate. That's why a new experience manager. So yeah, I think in 1 year it's going to be 8.5. I really believe in 1 year it's going to be 8.5, and it's going to be a great place to live. It's just very early.
Nice. Yeah. Talk to me about the sort of integration side, right? Because from what you were saying earlier, I do really believe that there's unfortunately an aspect of so I did my undergrad in anthropology. So there is this long tradition of white saviorhood and guilt that I think informs this belief sometimes. And I think it comes from a good place. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily the thing that should drive you all the time. Don't think you have to feel like a bad person if people are not asking for your help or they don't want it. You don't have to. You're allowed to just go somewhere and enjoy it. But I think locality matters, right? And I think what your work in Madeira was so great because you had these community managers who made sure that there was a flow between the community and it wasn't just nomads with nomads 100% of the time. From what I've heard from world schooling families in Bansko, they really like it because it's not just digital nomad families. There's Bulgarian families. And so there's the visitor's experience is enriched by the local's knowledge. The local gets access to some of these experiences and innovations that they might not have otherwise if the world wasn't coming to them. But then in a special economic zone development project like Prospera, is it very much like an enclave? Or are there liminal zones where you get to interact with the locals? Or is it really just worlds apart?
I feel we need to improve on that. So that's one of my critics on Prospera, and one of the things we are working on. There is really cool things happening already, meaning, for example, football on Sundays, we play with locals. So this Sunday I was playing football. It's a Prospera people, and then was just local kids playing with us. And it was super, super fun to play with them. And it was really, really cool. And this was in the village of workers, 10 minutes from where I am, to the tower. There is several things that Prosper itself, the foundation, is doing with locals. We sponsor the local football team. We are really integrated into all this. I think residents can do better. And what's missing is the community manager, or in this case, the experience manager. When I was here, when I arrived, there is nobody in that role. And today, it was the first day of the new person.
Nice.
And she's an Honduran person. She's a girl. She's amazing. She was already part of that without being paid for. And so I think right now, it's one of the things that they understand they need to do better. And from today, ironically, I can see she will be the bridge. She's very good with that.
Nice.
She's a social person. She loves to help. So we needed that bridge that was not in place, again, because I think there was this belief if we build, it will come, that things will happen. It's very libertarian. But this person is going to be the key to unblock a local community and the integration of everyone, which for me is key. We are very aligned on that. And also right now, we are already discussing. She started today and I had a meeting with her. And we're discussing, okay, what can we build? We have some free space in front of the tower where I am. Okay, maybe we should build. I wanted a paddle court because I play paddle and I know it, so it is what it is. Don't judge me. And she said, no, I think we should build a place with basketball where we can play multiple sports because then the locals can come as well. And we can organize more events with the locals. So that's why you are hired.
Yes.
And so I think until today, that critique was very valid to Prospera. I think from today, people will find much harder to criticize because I think this person is going to do an incredible job.
Nice. Yeah, I sort of had this interest in social enterprise and like sustainability and impact in that world for a while. And the thing that always like made no sense to me was when like a company like Shell, who are in like oil, petrochemicals, like I'm not just going to paint them as like a big bad evil just because they're in that industry, but like when they like give back by doing something that is like in a completely other world, just like giving money to orphans is just like, okay,
Yeah,
I don't see it. Like you want a company like Nestle, who's implicated in like child labor, to maybe focus on that side of things, like because it makes sense. It's more part of their mission. So to me, it doesn't make sense unless these things are
yeah,
integrated. And I have no problem with like companies like doing this. I think there's times for the commons to like the commons can pitch in where people just give because they are community oriented. There's times for the state to take some responsibility, and there's times for the market to provide solutions. And it's just about being thoughtful,
yeah,
because so our local decathlon, like they just have all this sports equipment that's out front. Right. So people who are interested in fitness and health can come try it out for free,
that's so
right? They
cool.
make themselves a community zone. They bring foot traffic, benefits them, but they're giving to the community in a way that like really doesn't cost them except just like a patch of real estate and some equipment that they would like be losing value in inventory on the spreadsheet. It's nothing, right?
Yeah,
The IKEA here also has just like this small kids play area that just makes such a huge difference. And it's these kinds of touches that I think like really add up, right? It's like
yeah.
a mix of like different kinds of third spaces that can come together. Like every different person can like bring something to the table. Like all that, these little touches and like moments of impact like can add up.
Right now, what I see more Prospera doing is mostly sports and education. So those are the areas where they
Mm,
started, and it's much more about sponsoring the sports team, the football club, and there is a girls football team as well that they sponsor. So they're already doing this. They just don't promote it a lot. And
hmm
the education side, they also try to educate as much as possible, even in crazy things. So they bring kids to learn in the Bitcoin center. So they're learning about Bitcoin. They bring in business owners to learn about Bitcoin and implement Bitcoin in their businesses. So they do that very actively, but that's good, but doesn't build the bridge that you're mentioning that the third space is built. So when the new
hmm
experience manager told me about why she believes that we should have a football, basketball court instead of my paddle courts that I really wanted, I was like, she's right. She's 100% right
Yeah.
because she's building the third spaces, and we don't have many third spaces here right now. So we need to build the third spaces. If those third spaces can be integration spaces with the local community, that's amazing. We have lots of Hondurans working for Prospera, like lots of people, both from the mainland coming here to work with Prospera,
Mm.
and also that live here and work in the different, like the hotel, in the tower, and the companies, etc. That's great. So we are really providing lots of jobs, but we still miss the third spaces where people can connect. And besides our football on
Yeah.
Sunday, they are still lacking a bit. So when she told me that she's trying to push
Yeah.
for the football and basketball, I was like, welcome. That's you are exactly what we're looking for, and I think she will provide. I think in 1 year we'll talk. We'll be speaking about the whole histories of organizing rooftop parties with people we met at the basketball court and playing football every day with the locals. I think it's going to be a very different story. But it's a process. I don't think they were ready in the beginning to design all these from the
Mhm.
ground because there is so much, and they had a socialist government protecting them every day for
Yeah.
4 years. And now that there is elections in November, I think they have more space of mind to start thinking about the future and building what's missing. So there is also the context that was not easy at all in the last 4 years. They
Yeah.
survived through it, which is outstanding. And now that we see the light at the end of the tunnel with the new elections in November, now they are thinking about the future. Now they're already planning for the next stages, which is really
That's exciting.
nice.
And so, for you, in terms of what you're planning, getting nomads to own their own spaces, I'm curious if you've done some number crunching market research on this because so we've talked about a couple of things, and where I'm angling at is like like put your money where your mouth is, right? Are digital nomads genuinely willing to pay a premium for XYZ? Because they may signal that certain things are important, but at the end of the day, we know the market will tell us the truth, right? So community, right, is one aspect of it. Then there's the physical infrastructure and amenities. Like if there is like a premium um, on a place that's like vetted for remote workers with all of these with nice large windows, with I don't know, just like a little things. Like it can't be a studio, it has to be a one bedroom. So in case like one partner is still awake or there is a child who has to go back to sleep early, you have some separation from the workspace and sound, right? All these different touches that you need to vet. Having access to the right amenities and communities nearby versus proximal on-site membership included. Like, what's your hunch? Like, what bets are you making? Or what do you think, like, nope, I don't have to make a bet. I don't have a hunch. Like, I literally have the data, the market validation. Like, what is the product and what are people going to pay for? And I'm curious if you think you can like put a dollar like amount to that based on like your sort of global context.
There's a lot of cool stuff happening already. So in Matthias, that built Bansko community, did the same Covo project where he sold 200 apartments and they renew a hotel that was closed into a brand new co-living space with 200 apartments. They're still rebuilding, but that's insane. And that's an incredible case study where with the power of the community, he was able to buy a whole building of a hotel, renew the hotel, and he got 200 people to buy the apartments already at prices that are above average for the location. So that's in the middle of nowhere, San Covo, in the middle of the forest. The apartments are more expensive than the ones in Bansko that has the community. He still sold them. Now we saw this summer, another friend of mine, also in Bansko actually, did the same experience. One building that's half built only. They sold almost all the apartments during Bansko Nomad Fest to digital nomads. So that was interesting. I think that's the first real case study that we will have. I think there are chances in places that are outstanding. So Bansko sells because the community is there. So and the prices are really, really, of course, and you get residency, etc. So that's a perfect storm. I see the same happening if you. I actually tested this on LinkedIn. I wrote a whole, I think it was 2 posts about how we could literally buy whole villages right now, renew them, and bring people over to leave, to buy the apartments, leave. I got so many messages from investors ready to buy. So many. With the whole concept was most of the villages are abandoned. The real estate is abandoned, especially in Portugal. There is issues with the family heritage. It's very hard to find the owners and buy, etc. If we could have a task force or a person just dedicated to find the owners, offer them money, buy them, renew it, and put them in the market, most people would come. There is buyers for that. It's probably not the same buyer as Bansko, which is not the same buyer as Chiang Mai. So I don't think there is a profile. I think there is things that the people are looking for. And one of them is belonging. They want to belong to something bigger than themselves, which is much easier to find in a small village like a village in Europe, or Bansko, which is a small town, than it is to find in Miami or Bangkok. Probably that will not work as well. I would argue, though, if you build a solution that fits Bangkok, in this case probably a building, a pool, like many of those, it will probably sell to a different market inside the nomad spectrum. If you build in Bansko, you will sell to a different spectrum. And if you build a village in Portugal, it's going to sell to a different client. They are all location independent. Not all probably will be nomads. Some came from Bitcoin. Some are remote workers who want to move to Portugal. People are ready to buy. They want to have ownership. That's still a big thing in our economy. And many digital nomads have a lot of money. So digital nomad is a very, very broad spectrum that goes all the way from the guy with a salary of 1,000 euros in Portugal to the millionaire that has a business or 2 businesses or 3 businesses and makes 20 million a year. All these are digital nomads. So it's not a status of economy to be a digital nomad. It's just a lifestyle. And you can be a trillionaire or you can be just scraping by. You are still a digital nomad. So I think there are clients for all this. And all these people want to live in the same with people like them. So if you build a very high-end, fancy, village from scratch in a beautiful island, there is clients for that. They are around. and they have the money to buy it. It's not the same person buying in Bansko. They exist. It's all about, I think what these nomads are very picky about is the value. It's not the price, it's the value. Do I get what I'm paying for? So I know these nomads who bought a 1 million apartment in Lisbon, and I know these nomads who bought a 30,000 euros apartment in Bansko. And they're not the same, but they also understood that the value of what they were buying was higher than what they were paying for.
Yeah, I think that's a really important distinction. I think, definitely in my experience too, digital nomads, there are the penny pinching digital nomads, but that's people at the start of their journey. Like it's youth or an experience, but like they don't stay that way. This is the people who cross the chasm, as it were, and become successful in making digital nomadism sustainable. At some point, they figure out the income piece, right? So the people who have been around for a while, the people who are like the mature segment of this market, like do have more means. So they're not penny pinching, but they like a good deal.
They buy apartments with a card in the same day. Many of them were in Bansko. Then they went to Bansko for the first time. I saw this happening with my friends selling the new apartments. Oh, I like this. Let's check this. Let's go in this apartment tour. Oh, I like this. I'm buying. How much is it? 55K?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah. But then, so how does that come back? Like, what's the visa situation or the legal vehicles residency portions of a project like Prospera, or perhaps some other enclaves that you have your sights on? I think that that funnel for Madeira, for Portugal, is like very well developed, right? I think one of the reasons that Nomad Visa launch has done so well, not only was it because Portugal already had the community, could deliver on the lifestyle, but because they intentionally designed a visa that gave a pathway to like residency. In other words, like security, right? Enough security that you would relocate your family, that you would like sink your hard-earned cash into like a home, that you would even think of like taking on, because like there are these like €1 properties, right? But like it's not €1. Like you're gonna put like years of your life like pushing through regulation, finding local builders, like making something out of that. So at the end of the day, you really need to know that you're secure. Even the most risk-averse people are only going to make it a certain way down the funnel unless you can guarantee that. So like, what does that look like in Prospera? Or perhaps maybe you can just give us like, what is your vision for the model that you hope to help like workshop and ideally can be copy-pasted, replicated, adapted?
It's so fun because I designed this when I was in a safety wing retreat in Mexico during the pandemic. They invited me over through Plumia to be there. And one of our projects was to develop the perfect visa structure. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. And I had it on my head. So it was like this kind of Nomad Village moment where I just draw what's in my head for a long time. So I believe we need a Nomad visa. I love Nomad visas. They're just not built for nomads. So I think Nomad visa should be 6 months. And if you want, you can renew that for another 6 months. And that's it. You don't have access to Nomad visa anymore because you have access to residency. So after 1 year, you should get residency for 2 years. And after 2 years, if you behaved well, you should have permanent residency. And that's pretty much it. You can change here and there. But for me, that's the right structure. Because many will say, yeah, but we have the tourist visa. Why do we need digital nomad visa? Honestly, just to work legally in the country would be great. Yeah. Or we can adapt the tourist visa and make it can legally work in the country.
Say
as long
that you
as it's
legally
not for
work
a company.
remotely. Yeah.
So that's also good. I would go with any of those. I would call it digital nomad visa with 3+3 or 6+6 months, and then residency 2 years, and then permanent residency. That's it. Yeah, for me that's simple. Who is doing it? Portugal, Spain. I don't know the rest of the world, but there is some really cool stuff happening. Most governments don't really figure it out. I know Brazil is quite easy as well. Which is good.
What's the plan for Brazil?
Brazil is good. We launched the Nomad Visa. It was a big success. Ironically, I think like Thailand, Brazil is very similar with Thailand. The student visa is easier to get than the digital nomad visa. So many digital nomads just get the student visa and instead of the nomad visa because the threshold is easier. Nobody really cares. Brazil is very open to everybody to come there. And it's easy also to get residency after a while. So I'm getting residency this year for 2 years. Personally, I can get a passport for 2 years because I'm Portuguese. So that's my plan for Brazil. I want to have a Latin passport. to move around and I want to invest a lot in Brazil. I think it's one of the greatest countries to invest right now. So yeah, so it's quite easy to get residency to live there, and for Portuguese at least to get a passport. I think the other one should be 3 to 5 years to get a passport. So it's not that hard. And that, for me, that's a perfect model. Prospera depends on the Honduran government, so we don't have, we cannot do visa stuff, sadly. And so that's something we'll have to work better with the next government. But this one was impossible to work with. Hopefully the next government is more friendly and we can put Honduras on the map of digital nomads and remote workers. Of course, especially because of Roatan, but that would be very useful. I was speaking with the guys, it's quite easy. It's trouble. It takes work, but it's easy to get the residency here. They all did. And they have rules, but they don't really follow the rules. So they have a threshold for money, but it's like, yeah, whatever. It's a little bit free in that regards. So it's not that hard, but we could do better into making it easier to attract people. But Prospera doesn't have the freedom the power to do that by themselves. They have to work with whatever government is there. And right now it's
they're still part of a state. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still part of the state. And right now socialist governments, they're against everything that moves and makes money. So it's not ideal.
Yeah. So I think, this brings us full circle in some way, because with all of the freedom and opportunity that you had leaving Portugal, you're here in a phase of your life where you want to get more passports. It does bring you more opportunities, but the point is it gives you more anchors. It gives you more opportunities to root, to invest, to really to take ownership. And I think that that's something that needs to become more highlighted in this narrative around like free cities, free roaming digital nomads. The point is not freedom. The point is what you do with it.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, like, if you fall in love with the place, like many people are falling in love here with Roatan and Prospera, you should do it for Roatan. One of the things I'm really pushing here is like, Roatan is this beautiful island which is underdeveloped. And if we bring the right people here, we can change the story of Roatan and we can have 10 times more impact than we did in Madeira, because Madeira is still European Union. We had great roads, we had great internet. Here, things are more raw. So imagine that in 5 years, if we bring the right businesses, we can have a hospital here. Even if it's private, we can find a way for locals or give certain parts of the hospital for treating locals. There is no hospital in Roatan. We can make so much and have a huge impact in this island just because there's a small thing called Prospera in the middle of it. So that's the high level vision. I think it's going to be much better for Roatan. That's going to be for the whole Honduras. But for an island so small and yet so diverse with so much nature, so beautiful, 2 hours flight from Miami. So it has like super short flight to the US. There is just so much potential to make it one of the best islands in the Caribbean. It just takes work, it takes foreign direct investment, it takes people to move here and to build cool stuff, not just touristic products. We have 1 million visitors that are from cruise ships, which live very few in the island. We only have like 200,000 visitors not coming from cruise ships. So we need to change that. We need to build better touristic products. And Prospera can be the legal framework and the economic framework to do all that. Because if you try to start a business with the Honduras government, it's going to be so hard. It will take months. In Prospera, it takes 1 hour. Everything together. You are ready to operate. So we see many, many locals building businesses inside Prospera to serve the island of Roatan. And so it's not just for foreigners. Locals struggle with the local government, and locals are using the framework of Prospera to do business in their own country. And that's kind of the dream. So there's a lot to do. But we want to allow people that fall in love with Roatan, that fall in love with this land, to build the best for them. And I think we can do it here because of Prospera. I think all the countries should have a tool, especially developing countries, should have a tool for people to go fall in love and invest there. And hopefully we see that all over the world. I can see that happening all over LATAM. LATAM is on fire right now. And that's why I'm here. I think this is one of the most interesting places today to be. I think next is going to be Africa. We're not bad. I think the whole Asia is incredible as well. What's happening in Japan is incredible. But I love this side of the world. The happiness here is just insane.
Yeah. It's been super fun talking to you today, Gonçalo, and I've really learned so much. I appreciate you sharing your story, your expertise, being so candid with your feedback. It's been a super fun conversation, and we're trying to sort of be on this mission of learning in public, and definitely I've got ideas stewing in my head for how we can sort of implement all of your insights into what we create with Amagi. And so, yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks for being an
Very
inspiration.
excited to see all this. Very, very excited. I will visit as soon as you build. I'll be the first 10 visitors.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we're at 2 hours and my timer has gone off. So I will set you free to return to your nighttime routine and your family.
No, they are sleeping already. I'll be with them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Till the next time, Gonçalo. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Lily Szabo, and this has been the Amagi Village Podcast. Amagi is an ancient Sumerian word for return to mother. It's also the earliest denotation of emancipation and freedom. Not freedom through escape, but through return, through restoration, integration, through rebirth. The world is quickly changing, and the myth of modernity is coming undone. Progress is not linear, and to thrive in the coming age, we can't keep living in the matrix and just hoping for the best. It's time to embark on bold experiments. We don't claim to know what the answer is, but we know it won't come from ideology. This isn't a cult, it's not a brand. Amagi is an invitation for those who don't just play with new ideas, but are ready to live them, to walk the talk, to build the future. The Amagi Village podcast documents our journey of discovery. We're learning in public from technologists and tribal elders, from philosophers and farmers. Let's reimagine the future together. Please visit amagi.life to learn more. That's amagi.life.